The Taurus Model 605 357 Magnum. Let's check it out. Semi-automatic pistols dominate the handgun world, but there's just something about a good solid revolver. The simplicity, the reliability, and while the round capacity is considerably less, there's just something about a revolver and just that click of the hammer, just the way the cylinder moves, and it's just really easy to carry and safe to carry. Today we're going to take a look at the Taurus Model 605, and this is in 357 Magnum. You can shoot the 38s for lesser recoil. It's a small, tiny revolver, but yet it's all stainless steel, so it has some heft, which will mitigate some of the recoil. So we're going to take a look at the Taurus Model 605, and one of the big pluses for Taurus is they make good quality revolvers, but at this time, revolvers are fairly expensive. And so this really brings it down to a very good price. And guys, there's something about having a really little solid revolver in your collection. And we want to give a big thank you to Nate over at Gun Zone Deals for sending the Taurus Model 605 357 Magnum revolver for this review. We really appreciate the guys at Gun Zone Deals bringing us some pretty cool options to show you guys. All right guys, the Taurus Model 605. This is in 357 Magnum, and of course you can shoot 38 specials if you want less recoil. You can use 38 plus P if you want a good self-defense round and less recoil than 357 Magnum. It is 5-shot, it's double single action, it's all stainless steel, so the frame is not going to be one of the alloy frames, so it's going to give it some heft, and it definitely has a nice feel to it. Now let's go ahead and make sure the gun's unloaded. We're going to push our cylinder latch forward, and it's a 5-shot, and the gun is empty. Now one of the things about a double single action is that when you pull the trigger, it's a heavy trigger, and this is honestly part of your safety. There's no safeties on a revolver. So that first pull of the trigger is going to be heavy and a little bit longer, and then you fire. The next round you can pull again, or if you want to shoot single action, you can just pull the hammer back. This makes a lot lighter trigger pull, and really a lot of people do this to aim a little better. It's just less trigger pull to be able to get the sights on target, and it's a much nicer trigger pull. But in a self-defense situation, you're going to want to shoot this double action, so you should always train. If you're carrying something like this, you need to be training with double action. Also, this is a very attractive firearm for ladies. It's very simple. It's one of the things about a revolver. There's just pull the trigger, and you pull that trigger, the gun fires. There's no magazines, there's no slide moving back, there's no safeties. So this is a very appealing choice for a lot of ladies. The problem is that when they go to pull that double action trigger, it's really heavy and very difficult, and they're shaking and moving the gun around. So before you buy something like this for your significant other, or if you're a female, make sure that you try and pull that trigger first to make sure, because it's about a 10-pound trigger pull, and we'll check that out in a minute. Now Taurus was founded in 1939 in São Paulo, Brazil, and they began to produce revolvers in 1941. So they've had a long track record with making firearms, and today they have tons of semi-automatics, revolvers, rifles. There's a number of different things that Taurus makes. In fact, in 2020, Taurus made 41% of all the revolvers sold in the US. That's a pretty big deal, but one of the big reasons is the price. And these come in at a very reasonable price compared to a lot of the bigger brands. But it still has a lot of quality. In fact, in the 1970s, Smith & Wesson and Taurus were sister companies, and Taurus was able to get a lot of information from Smith, and it really upped their game. But then, in the 1980s, Beretta was making firearms for the Brazilian military, filling out a military contract, and when it was over, Taurus actually bought the Beretta facilities. And it's one of the reasons why we have the PT-92 and PT-99, which are really clones of the Beretta 92. And Taurus also owns the Rossi company, which they acquired. And honestly, Rossi 38 Special Model 88 was the very first handgun I purchased on my own when I turned 21. And I love that handgun. It's a really high quality gun. Now, one of the things about Taurus, they have had some issues. Over the past number of years, Taurus would have some issues once in a while. You'd have to send them back. But they've had a lifetime warranty for a long time. In fact, they kind of set the precedent. And so it would be a quick turnaround. They'd get it back to you, and typically they were good to go. But over the past few years, Taurus has really upped their quality. In fact, they're going by what they call the zero tolerance standard. So they really go the extra mile to make sure that the tolerances are right, that everything is in line, and that these will function in a self-defense situation. And so that has been their mantra over the past few years. And guys, I'll attest to it. I've not always been a big Taurus fan. I've always looked at it as more of a budget line, revolver, semi-automatic. But over the past few years, they have really stepped up their game. And they now have facilities right here in the USA in Bainbridge, Georgia, which they are making a number of different handguns at the Bainbridge plant, including the PT-22 and also some of the G3 series pistols and a number of others. But this revolver was made in Brazil. In fact, it's stamped right here, made in Brazil. But the importer is their sister company in the US, Taurus International Manufacturing. And you have your Taurus logo. Now, it does have a 2-inch barrel. We have a shroud that goes around the ejector rod, so it kind of protects it, locks it into place. Of course, there's the detent here that locks to the frame. It just allows that to have a solid lockup, and then of course back here at the recoil face, it's just going to lock down. As far as tolerances go, there's a tiny bit of movement, which is typical for any revolver, and to me this is acceptable. When it comes to your hammer, it is spurred and it has texturing or checkering on the top, so it makes it really easy to bring back that hammer for those single action shots. Trigger smooth. Here with the barrel, I just wanted to point out this has been crowned and highly polished right at the end. And then we have a satin finish all the way throughout. The sight's built into the frame right here at the back, but the front sight has been pinned. So you could actually replace this. And some of the early 605s actually had a stainless steel sight that was part of the barrel. So now you have a different color contrast, and you can change that out if you want. The cylinder does move counterclockwise, and so it just pops down, and we have a transfer bar right here, and that is a safety to keep your firing pin in case you drop the loaded handgun on the hammer. It's not going to fire. It just protects it. One thing too that they've done away with was their version of the Hillary hole, which is typically a hole that locks. You can take a key, put it in, it locks down the action. I believe it was right here at the back of the hammer, but they've done away with that. And Smith & Wesson has been doing away with that as well, which is really great to see. Yes, you can lock the handgun down, but that just adds some liability to the functioning of the firearm if something were to go wrong. The rubberized grips, very well executed. I love the ribbing on the back. It gives you a little bit of cushioning, texturing on the side panels. You have a thumb rest, and we have finger grooves that come all the way down. They're just slight. Gives you a good feel in your hand, and it does protect you right against the back strap. So it gives it a nice recoil protection. And we haven't fired this handgun yet because I just wanted to show it. It was such a beautiful gun. I just wanted to bring it out first before I get it all dirty. The fit and finish on this honestly are excellent. I've been very impressed. It was really funny because I got in touch with Nate over at Guns on Deals, and I like to get some different type firearms. And when I saw the Taurus, I thought I want to do a review on a Taurus revolver. It's been a little while, and I know that the quality has stepped up across the board with Taurus. Once I've started really looking this over, I have been very impressed with this firearm. It's about, again, the size of a J-frame Smith & Wesson, so it's fairly small. But then again, it does have the .357 Magnum capability. This also works with any of your HKS speed loaders for your Model 36 or Model 60. So those same Smith & Wesson speed loaders you can use, plus you can use the ammo strips. But I like the ammo strips. They just kind of line up and they're rubberized. Makes it a lot easier to load. And that's one of the things about a revolver is the loading. It just takes a little more time to load than it does if you have a magazine for a semi-automatic. And you have 5 rounds. Most of your semi-automatics now have a really large mag capacity and they're getting bigger. But again, the simplicity of the revolver, the ease of use, new shooters can shoot this without much training whatsoever, except one thing about shooting a revolver is you do need a little more training to master the revolver. So if you choose to buy a revolver, you definitely need to make sure you go out and shoot it often. Now, as far as the cylinder latch, it is checkered right here, and again, it does move forward. Not quite as smooth as maybe your Ruger or Smith & Wesson, but I do like the action. Also, your ejector rod, it's fairly easy. It comes out, it'll get those rounds out. Not quite as smooth as a lot of your Smith & Wessons, but over time, and again, this gun hasn't even been shot, that will all start to work its way out. Also, the tolerances on the cylinder are very acceptable, just a touch of movement. And that will be with any of your revolvers. But the all stainless steel color on here, it's very corrosion resistant, so care can be a little bit minimal. And 2, with revolvers, it's very easy to keep these clean because it's very simple. Now, as far as your movement of the cylinder, it's very smooth. You do have this checkering on the end of your ejector rod. We also have our detent here, and it locks up also here at the back on your recoil plate. And so it actually locks to the top of the frame as well. Good solid snap, and I really like the sound. Again, guys, it's a little bit heavy, but again, that is your safety. And guys, check out suchgear.com. It's our website. We've just revamped it. We have a lot of things going on over there, including monthly giveaways and a lot of different Such gear. So check it out at suchgear.com. Let's look at the trigger pull action and double action. So first, we're going to pull back. You can see the hammer coming back. Guys, very smooth. Definitely heavy, but there is no resistance other than just the pull of the spring. I like that. As far as single action, we bring it back, locks. The trigger, you'll notice, comes all the way to the back, so it's a very short trigger pull. Nice clean break. A little heavy, but a nice clean break. One thing about revolvers too that you have to keep in mind is that a lot of times with semi-automatics you can ride the reset. With a revolver, you need to come all the way out. And so what they call slapping the trigger is a little more applicable when it comes to a revolver. Because if you just bring it back like this, you're not going to be able to get it until you catch it. So make sure you let that come all the way out when you fire it. Let's test the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. Double action is going to be heavy. 11 pounds, 14 ounces. Let's try it one more time. 11 pounds, 11 ounces. It's definitely heavy. Single action, 5 pounds, 6.8 ounces. And that's about right. One of the things about this is that over time it will lighten the trigger pull weight, but also you can replace these with different springs if you want to, but really this makes it a very safe gun to carry. And guys, I know sometimes I go into just simple things when I'm reviewing a gun that most gun owners know, but there are a lot of people that watch these videos that are learning for the first time. Let's check the weight. 21.6 ounces. Alright guys, a big thank you to Fiocchi for sponsoring our ammo. We're shooting 357 Magnum. This is a 142 grain, just a conical bullet, jacketed, and then we're going to be shooting 38 Special. Which is a lesser recoiling round, but you can shoot both in the Taurus or any 357 Magnum. We're just going to test them out, but we give just a big thank you to Fiocchi for sponsoring our ammo. Of course, the one thing about a revolver is it's fairly slow to load compared to your standard magazine, semi-automatic, but it'll get the job done. The Taurus Model 605, guys, this is like a J-frame Smith & Wesson. It's that small size, but yet you have 357 Magnum. You can go with your 38, you can go with your 38 plus P. Double action revolver, all steel frame, so it's got some heft to it. And when you're shooting 357 Magnums, especially full house loads, you're gonna appreciate that steel frame. Grips, rubber grips, it gives you a good hold to it. I will say that the back strap with the full 357 Magnum loads, it's a little tough, but it gives you that power out the front. And with Taurus, it gives you a better price. Now, typically in a self-defense situation, you're shooting at double action. That means you're just pulling the trigger. It kicks, it jumps, but you're getting a lot of power that's coming out, and 357 is legendary for being a man stopper. And then when it comes to 38, it's gonna be a heck of a lot less recoil, and it's more manageable to shoot. And you go to that plus P, it gives you that in between. But you can also shoot this with single action, which means I can take and just pull the hammer back. A little slower. A lot of people do that for accuracy, but it definitely slows things down a little bit. And then we can go with just one hand, and really this is probably the way you're going to shoot it in a self-defense situation. It's better to get that two-hand grip, but a lot of times it is with just one hand. I would recommend shooting it all three ways. If you're going to carry a revolver, know the limitations and yet know how it feels shooting it in different positions. This is a very small handgun. It's really meant for personal security up close. But the revolver's been very effective for self-defense for a long time. And with Taurus coming in, beautiful handgun. Front sight with that rib on it. I mean, it really allows you to catch that front sight. It's got some heft to it. And all around, I've been very pleased with the 605. And when it comes to cleaning, the big thing is just to open up your cylinder. You want to clean your cylinder face here and definitely up front. Here you can see where it was test fired at the factory. And so this needs to be cleaned. You want to get any debris out of your chambers. Just kind of run a bore brush down through there. And of course, with your barrel, you're going in through the front, which a lot of times I personally like to go from the back, but with a revolver, it's impossible. You can take a rag and put on the recoil plate and just protect it so when you put your rod through it, it doesn't hit against this and damage it. But overall, it's just keeping it wiped down, keeping it clean. And of course, this area around your forcing cone, it gets pretty dirty as well. So you want to make sure you keep that clean. One danger that I do want to mention is that if you have a forward grip, like a really big forward grip, and you have large hands, there is gases that come through right here, which is typical with any of your revolvers. And so you want to make sure that you keep your thumb back. And to be honest with you, most self-defense situations with a revolver this size are going to be shot with one hand. But of course, obviously, it's best to have two-handed grip. You just don't want to get those thumbs past that cylinder, and you don't want to cut yourself because it will. Now, keeping your firearms maintained and cleaned is vital. Otis makes some of the best cleaning equipment out there. They make a number of different kits that are dedicated for different rifles, pistols. They also have Shooter's Choice, which makes excellent CLP and bore solvent and different cleaning materials. The ripcord is one of their signatures, and there's a whole system based around it. They are suppliers to the U.S. military. So check out Otis Technologies, highly recommended, and we want to thank Otis for being a sponsor of the channel. Now, in the 605 series, there's a number of different models. This is the 2-inch. It does come with a 3-inch model. It does come in black or stainless. And it also comes with what they call their Taurus model, which is their optics ready version. So you can put one of the micro red dots, has a mount on the top. It also comes in a polymer system that's a lot less expensive, and they do come with models that have walnut grips. So a lot of different options. And these are California compliant, which a lot of times I'm reviewing guns and I see in the comments guys from California are like, great gun, I can't own it, it's not on the list. This is going to be on the list. All right guys, retail price is $431.99. At Guns on Deals, it's $312.99. So a really great price for a solid little revolver. What are some pros and cons? First off, it's all stainless steel. The fit and finish are just impeccable. I like this front sight, but you are limited to your sight. But this handgun actually in a self-defense situation is really within 5 yards. And this will take care of that, you know, in a close-up situation. You do have your hammer, so you do have that single action capability. A lot of the new revolvers that are coming out, which I personally like, are double action only. But this gives you that ability to be able to pull that hammer back and get a little bit of an easier shot. Also, 357 Magnum. It's one of the best man stoppers out there, but then you can dial it down to 38 or 38 plus P for carry. The finish is absolutely beautiful. Trigger's a little heavy, and so, you know, 11.5 pounds, it's getting a little bit tough, but yet it's very smooth all the way through. And once you get it back here, it kind of stops. That gives you that almost single action capability for accuracy. Well guys, I want to give an update on the grip. We did take it to the range and we shot it. It feels comfortable, but when you're shooting full 357 Magnum loads, this back strap right here will start to wear on your hand. Not at first, but it takes a little time. And it'll start just to wear right here on the web of your hand. Of course, you can switch these grips out if this grip bothers you when shooting. Now, we were shooting 38 special. We didn't have any problem. It's a much softer recoiling round. But 357 Magnum, it was just a little bit rough. And it may be because of the rubberized little ribs, just tends to kind of ride in your hand. So one thing to take note of. So overall, there's not really a lot of cons. I would say the trigger pull's heavy, and again the sights, but otherwise it's just an excellent choice if you're looking for a good double single action revolver. And for the price, that is one of the biggest pros. Comparable handguns that are all stainless in this quality are going to be double the price. So while Taurus has had some issues with quality control a few years ago, their lifetime warranty kind of trumped that in a sense. You never want to have to send your gun back, but I've sent guns back to every manufacturer. But with the lifetime warranty on it, it really gives you a lot of confidence. But guys, I'm telling you, over the past few years, they have really upped their quality. And to be honest with you, as far as the price difference, they've kept it at a very reasonable price. If you want to go up in value and you want to spend a little more money, I mean, their executive line really is top notch. So guys, there's just something about revolvers, especially a double single action little pocket revolver. It's very safe to carry, it's very simple to operate, and it's very reliable. And you can get those 357 Magnum loads or higher, and you can carry it in a small package. And then you can dial it down to 38 special just to keep the recoil down. And while revolvers in general have really risen in price, it's great to see Taurus coming in with a lot of quality and yet coming in at a much lower price. And again, we want to give a big thank you to Nate over at Guns on Deals for sending the Taurus Model 605 357 Magnum for this review. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. The G3C and the G3, okay, little buddy, you stay right here. We'll be back. Guys, okay. We are going to be using the 158, no. 158 grain, normal. The 38 is 130 grain. Oh god. Double single lag. Okay. But we're also going to be shooting some 38 special 357 Magnum, which this gun's, well, I don't want to say it like that. Of course, the prices have risen over the past couple of years. Okay, no, not a couple of years. Just the simplicity. The simplicity